Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Caleb Plant returns after 18 months out of the ring. He stops the previously undefeated TREVOR McCUMBY. McCUMBY came in with 28 wins, 21 knockouts, no draws, no defeats. Hadn't really faced anyone of note. And he's surprised a few people. I've got to be honest, I didn't know much about McCUMBY at all. He's 31 years old. He's an orthodox fighter. From Arizona, and he came in. I sort of took a look at him, and he had a big sort of 70s porn star moustache and a haircut that looked like a cross between a mullet and a Mohican. I thought, oh, fuck's this guy? I thought he looked like the type of fellow who's got a bit of a meth lab going on, maybe in the Arizona desert. But I'm only joking. Trevor. Don't sue me, please. Don't sue me. You won't get anything because I ain't got fuck all money. But you know what I mean. Anyway. No, he proved himself. Because Plant, Plant's got lots of experience now. This was only his 23rd win, 14 KO. He's got 2 defeats. His last fight 18 months ago was against David Benavidez, and he gave Benavidez some work. But in the second half of the fight, Benavidez took over and basically beat him up. He scored a very picturesque knockout of Anthony Durrell before that. It was in 9 rounds. And, of course, he got stopped in 11 by Canelo Alvarez. That was for all the marbles at 168. But Plant can fight. 32 years old now. This was for the WBA interim title. I don't know what the fuck they're bothering with that for. Because surely the WBA champion is Canelo. We don't need an interim champion. There is no need for an interim champion because Canelo's got the fucking belt. I mean, how many more times do these stupid ruling bodies do this nonsense? But anyway, taking nothing away from Plant, I mean, this was a good performance because it's all a bit rough and tumble from McCUMBY. The second round, the first round I thought Plant edged it. The second round, McCUMBY suddenly started getting very physical, and he looked physically very, very strong. And he was kind of manhandling Plant a bit. And Plant's not a small guy. He's not a small 168-pounder. He looked bigger than McCUMBY, to be honest, in terms of, broader back and maybe longer reach, probably. But McCUMBY was having his way with him, and he was landing some very good hooks. Predominantly the left hook. I'm doing this, like 5 minutes after I finish watching the fight, so I'm trying to remember it all by pure memory. But I think he was landing some good hooks, and he definitely was the physical side of it. Even though he has technical limitations, his physical game is pretty good, and he was kind of dragging Plant away from his game plan and into a bit of a fight rather than a boxing match. Because Plant, clearly from the opening bell, you could see that he had superior skills, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. But I think it was in the fourth. The third round carried on. He'd been very physical, McCUMBY was. But in the fourth round, he actually scored a knockdown because he landed a hook to I think it was the shoulder or the bicep. And then he followed up with another hook, which kind of clipped Plant. But the sheer physicality of McCUMBY, trundling forward, seemed to sort of half push Plant back. The punch did land. I thought it was a knockdown. I mean, Joe Goosen, he was one of the commentary guys, he was saying, I didn't think it was a knockdown. But I personally did, especially watching the replays between rounds. But Plant wasn't hurt. He got up. And then I think from probably the 5th round, even though McCUMBY was still being very sort of rough and tumble, but Plant started to sort of, with all that experience and with that, the track record of doing 12 tough rounds and being in with Canelo for 11, and he started to really get his skates on. And gradually, McCUMBY, you could tell that the 12-round distance, he just wasn't used to it. And he spent way too much time with his back to the ropes, McCUMBY. His corner were bemoaning that fact, but Plant started to really take advantage because although when McCUMBY still had reasonable level of fuel tank, he was able to sort of counterpunch off the ropes. Once the old fuel gauge started to hit that little E on the old in the car. You know what I mean? Suddenly, McCUMBY was not able to fire as many punches as he was, and also the accuracy seemed to have gone out the window. And certainly, I mean, I think it was in the 5th or 6th round. I mean, Plant was really showboating. You know, I think it was the 5th round. Plant was, you know, despite being knocked down, he was, you know, wiggling his hips and giving it the old fist in the air to the crowd, all this sort of stuff. And McCUMBY didn't really have any answer to this. It's kind of like Plant was going through the gears and turning the screws and really making McCUMBY feel the pace of a long 36 minutes of fighting. And by the 9th round, he really didn't have anything left, McCUMBY. He was fighting on heart, and he had a lot of heart. This guy's got a lot of heart, a lot of toughness. Very tough fighter, actually. Doesn't quite have the skills, the world-class skills needed, but he can be relatively crafty. But it just weren't going to happen. You know, it was. I think McCUMBY's about 31, but if I had to, this sounds a bit strange for a 31-year-old, but this was almost like a learning fight for McCUMBY because he just didn't have that experience. He didn't have the quality of the opposition. He hadn't been that many rounds before, and it'll probably be if this hasn't taken too much out of him in terms of the beating he took, because by the end of it, he was taking the beating. This will make him a better fighter because he'll have more experience now, and he'll understand better how to pace yourself over 12 rounds, how to go through the gears sensibly, which clearly Plant knew how to do very, very clearly. But right at the end of the 9th round, I mean, McCUMBY was taking a real shellacking, and then Plant again got him on the ropes. McCUMBY just couldn't get off the ropes. He spent way, way too much time on the ropes throughout the whole fight. Plant lets his hands go, bang, bang, bang. McCUMBY's trying to fire back. He almost got one of his arms caught in the rope. And right on the bell, the referee jumped in and stopped the fight. And he didn't complain, McCUMBY. He had blood coming out of his nose. He was cut. He was actually cut, I think, around about the 6th, 7th round. But he didn't complain because he just had nothing left. But he tried his heart out. You know what I mean? He tried everything. He's got nothing to be ashamed of. Not like the guy who fought Rolly Romero, Jaimez, who didn't make any effort at all, didn't try to win the fight. This guy tried to win. And yeah, he got stopped right at the end of the 9th round, but there's no shame in that. You know, Caleb Plant can fight. Caleb Plant's a good fighter. And McCUMBY really, he showed something. He showed that he belongs in the ring. He probably ain't going to be a world champion, but he's a good gatekeeper type, and he'll give you work and he'll give you rounds. And if you want to beat him, you'll have to earn it. Because Plant at the end had, all sorts of scuffs and abrasions on his face, and McCUMBY's face was smashed up. Don't get me wrong, he had the cut and the nose might have been broken, blood coming out of the mouth and everything. But he made Plant work for a hard win. And I respect that. So Trevor McCUMBY, I didn't know who you were before, to be honest, but I do now. Well done. Well done on giving it all, and big respect to you. As for Caleb Plant, he's got that interim belt, which is, I think it's meaningless, but it's not meaningless in the sense that, it's a little trinket that you can wave around and say, give me the big fight. So that's its worth, I suppose. And I like Plant. I think he's a good fighter, tough guy. I think he fights very well. He's got a terrible backstory. I think his mother was his mother shot dead by the police or something like that. Or I think one of his kids died when. Little daughter died when she was young. There's all sorts of horror stories going on in this guy's background. So I wish him all the best, Caleb Plant. And he's an entertaining fighter to watch. He seems to have had a hard life, but steel sharpens steel, I suppose. The old cliche goes. But what did you think of this fight? I thought it was entertaining because I thought, I don't know who this Trevor McCUMBY is. Is this going to be a good fight? Is it going to be a bad fight? Who knows? It was a good fight, very good fight, on the undercard of Berlanga versus Canelo. But take a look if you can. You won't be disappointed. It is entertaining stuff and kind of crazy in places, but still very entertaining. And let me know what you think. And of course, as always, please, it costs you nothing. Subscribe to the channel and hit the like button as well, and spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. And thank you. I'll read your comments and answer as many as I can. Until then, bye for now.